Sweet surrender as I love, serve, and remember.
Are you feeling that? So that's what the Divine's message is for us today. Nothing else really needs to be said. It's just we'll keep talking about it. This week I was just feeling things so deeply, but no words were coming. And so I was talking to Jack, and he was asking about music last night. And I'm like, I don't know, I can feel it, but I can't articulate it. And he said, we had talked before about sometime during the rose. He goes, well, what about the rose? And I just said, yes, that's it. But I didn't know how it really fit in with the talk, but I knew that was the song, like this seed that we all have, and that we're all a rose. And then I'm like, well, what am I going to get a reading along with that? Open my computer. Right there is our reading for today. The Divine loves us as if we're the only one in the world. The Divine loves you as if you are the only one in the world. There's nothing like you. You are the center of God's world, and you were born with this seed, and God's love is pouring itself into that seed that you were born with every single day, every breath. You are the only one in the world. And then I woke up this morning and I get these daily readings from St. Therese. Our Therese Salles is named after St. Therese Littleflower. And often I don't open them up, but today I opened it up. And what was the quote for today from St. Therese? God loves you as if you're the only one in the world. I'm like, okay, I got the message. But do we have the message? Are you hearing that? We hear it. I've said it before. Julian of Norwich, same message. She gets this message from the Divine, who she knows and loves as Jesus, who says, all beings are loved as if they're the only one. Know that you are cared for, you are watched over as if you're the only one in the world. So what I want us to do is really get this. I really want you to feel this. So I'm just going to invite you just for a second just to close your eyes, and I want you to let the world go. Let your tasks go. I know a lot of you have a lot of responsibilities to your job, to your colleagues. You have kids, children, pets, plants. There's a lot of things. Citizens of the world, we have a lot of responsibility in this world. I'm asking you just to let all your responsibilities go, all those things that are other, and be willing to place your full attention on yourself. So though you have people in front of you, to the right of you, to the left of you, behind you, and in front of you, all around you, I want you to be willing to let yourself be the center of attention. And feel that there is a presence that is in front of you and behind you, that is all loving, that knows everything about you, that knows you before you were ever born. That this presence is the seed of your soul, the seed of your life. It always has been and ever will be. It is to the right and to the left. It is above you. It is below you. It is inside of you. It is in every atom and cell of your being. It is in every artery and vein. It is every organ, action, and function of your body temple. It is in your heart. It is in your mind. It is in your energy body that is you, that is greater than your physical body. It's holding you and caring from you every moment of every day. It is loving you. It is seeing you. It is caring for you. It is watching over you. It is guiding you to the extent that we are willing to listen. It is always giving. It never stops generously giving its energy, its light, its love. It's pouring itself into us for whatever that we're needing, and moment to moment, breath by breath, the sun, the water, the rich soil, the fertile soil. It is giving everything that we need to flourish why we were born into this world. I want you to feel that. I want you to feel so loved in this moment as we just hear that last verse of the rose one more time, and know that this is you, that you're the rose.
When the night has been too lonely and the road has been too long, and you think that love is only for the lucky and the strong. Just remember in the winter, far beneath the bitter snows, lies the seed that with God's love in the spring comes the rose. Lies the seed that with God's love in the spring comes the rose.
Do you feel it? You are the rose. No one and nothing can ever take that away from you. Whatever your story is in your life right now, it cannot limit this awareness and this reality, the ultimate reality that you are God's rose. You are God's love. You are God's beloved, the divine's beloved, divine mother's beloved. Whatever your word is for the infinite thing that has no name, you are its beloved. And you are cared for intimately and passionately every single day. Today's talk title is Creating a Life That Matters. And what this reminds us is that we don't create a life so that we matter. It's because we matter that we create a life. We don't create a life to get to the point where we finally matter. I love to listen to lots of talks about whatever the topic is, and someone kept saying, someone who's very successful, say, but I just want to matter. It was no amount of success made him felt like he mattered. Because we have this thing that I think in the personal growth world, in the spiritual progressive world, even then we're always doing work, and there's this underneath that's not talked about, but this underneath thing, if I really do this stuff right, if I meditate right, if I pray right, if I give enough, I will finally matter. My life will matter. But the key is to recognize that we start from we matter. We matter from before we were birthed. We matter throughout our entire life. When we are succeeding, when we are failing, we matter. This has to be our foundation. This has to be our rock. Because everything else, otherwise we're grasping. If we don't feel like we matter, that everything that we're doing is to get to the point where we matter, and there's a graspingness to it. When we know that we matter, then what happens is we create a life that is a work of art. We create a life that we're constantly creating something beautiful and generous and kind because we already know that we matter. We're not doing it to get anything, we're doing it because we have something to give, right? We have something we want to offer the world, and it's not one thing, and we're constantly working on what that can be. By the way, the month is work, and if you look up the word work is something that takes effort. So the part that you matter does not take effort. That's what I want to get to. Creating a light can take effort. Creating a light, a work of art, it's a work of art. When you're creating your life, however you want to create it, as something that's a generous gift to the world, no matter what that looks like, that will take effort. But it's because you matter. It's not to get, it's to give. One of the interesting talks I listened to was from someone from Google, Mark Thompson, I believe his name is. And he was talking about, he obviously has a lot of access to a lot of CEOs. And he was saying the reason why he was in his talk using a lot of famous people was because he said everyone knows them, so they're easy points. It's true of everyone, but he was using them as points. And he said one of the most fascinating things in his conversations with them, he said when they weren't presenting their product, when they weren't talking about their achievements and their awards or wanting to sell something, and they were just hanging out talking, he said what was interesting is they spent far more time talking about their failures than their successes. He's talking about CEOs who have been very successful in the world. But that's not where their attention was. Their attention was all the things where they were finding limits, the things that weren't working, the things that they wanted to make better. And I love the way he put it, because we really need to adopt this in our spiritually progressive world, in our world of personal growth and in healing. He said the reason why they did it is because they cared. It wasn't a sense of, I'm bad, like I'm a failure. This thing isn't working as well as I want it to work, and I care, so that's what I'm obsessing about. That's what I'm thinking about. That the awards and the accolades were fun, but they weren't fulfilling. What was fulfilling is to continue to fulfill their potential. This seed that they have inside of them, one little bloom wasn't enough. They wanted to have multiple blooms. They wanted to try different flowers. They wanted to keep growing and evolving, and all the places where they were blocked, and they couldn't do that. That's what they wanted to talk about. They didn't want to talk about, oh yeah, well, this is what I did. They didn't spend a lot of time in the past. They spent the time in the present where they were moving forward to. So we're talking about creating a life that is a work of art, and we can't do that if we keep beating ourselves up. I remember when I was in practitioner training, and one of my classmates was saying how she was really frustrated. She'd been working on this issue forever, over and over, and she kept, it wasn't getting better. And Reverend Michael Beckwith is a minister in Los Angeles and around the world, and he said something that I absolutely hated, but it was a really good thing to hear, but it wasn't what I wanted to hear. When she said, how do I get over this thing that I've been working on forever and ever? He said, you probably won't. You will probably be dealing with this issue for the rest of your life. My jaw just dropped. I'm like, no, that's not our teaching. Our teaching is we get over it, we fix everything in our life, we have no problems, and we are perfect, whole, and complete. Which of course isn't true. We're human beings, we're limited, and especially if we're gonna continue to grow, we're gonna keep coming upon our limitations. They're just gonna keep showing up. So the question is not how do we get over our limitations? See, that's what I loved about the way the CEO was talking about it. It wasn't like they were beating themselves up for failure. It's just like, how can we use these to grow? These are opportunities to learn, to become even more fulfilled. So in the personal growth field, how do we use these opportunities to learn? And that we will be doing this for the rest of our life, because I find people who are drawn to communities like this are passionate about growing and evolving and understanding physically, emotionally, mentally, energetically, spiritually, on every level and dimension of our being. We are curious, we are open, and because we're going to keep finding parts of ourselves that we never knew were there, or that were already there, that are still showing up, and we'll have to find ways to do a dance with them, to create them into a work of art. I mentioned once before a teacher who was working with relationships, and he said, I'm not a therapist. A therapist is there often to fix you. He said, I am an artist. I'm here to work with your challenges, to create a work of art with your challenges, to create something that's beautiful and radiant, that's never been created before, and it's your very imperfections that are going to help create this extraordinary piece of art. That's a reframe, isn't it? We're creating an extraordinary piece of art, not a perfect piece of art, an extraordinary piece of art with beauty showing up in all the places we don't expect. So another gentleman I was listening to, Greg Brenham, I believe his name is, he was talking about how his job in the business world had been as a consultant to help businesses turn their businesses around. He had a 5-step process. And so that's what he did until he took on a company and used his own 5 steps, and that was Continental. He said, when I took on Continental, it was at the bottom of, there was only 10 airlines at the time, and on all 3 categories, we were the worst on every level. And so I started applying these 5 steps, and he said, it's amazing the turnaround that happened. And over several years, we changed the whole vibration, the structure, how we related to people, everything, and we became the best airline 6 years in a row. And then he said, and then I went on to other companies, went on to Burger King, and then he just started listing all these accolades, all these achievements that he had using these 5 steps in businesses. And then he followed it with the most amazing sentence. He's much older now, so I think he had time to, this was a natural follow-up sentence. It was not, when you're listening to it, you're like, what? He said, when I had all these accolades and awards and he was going on, and so but when I reached 45, I realized I was really living a life that was lukewarm. Like, that wasn't the sentence I was expecting. Like, I still wasn't really living a full life. He said, all this success, he wasn't living a full life. He said, our greatest fear shouldn't be of failure. Our greatest fear should be focusing on things that don't really matter. So it's really important as we look at that we matter and that other people matter. If we matter, then knowing that that matters to us, how do we live our life? He said another really great sentence, and I hope I never forget it. He said, I want to have eulogy virtues. Do you love that? I want to have eulogy virtues. He says, when you get up, and when someone dies and they just give a list of somebody's successes or their Wikipedia page or their resume, it's not very inspiring. What's inspiring is what kind of person were they? Who were they? So as you're looking at creating a life, your life already matters, and from that place you're creating a work of art, of beauty, of generosity, of giving that only you can give. Nobody else can give it but you, and you're going to have challenges. And you are the work of art, by the way. When I say creating a life of work and art, you're constantly working on yourself and on your own limitations, and then you're giving and serving other people, and it's constant, and it's never going to end, but you're getting clearer and clearer about what those things look like. It's who you are in all of that begins to really matter. I was having a conversation with my oldest brother, and he's in his 60s, and he's been a very successful businessman, and he's retired. In transition stage, I think we're always shifting from one to another, and he was saying it's interesting looking at his alumni book. He said when people were in their 20s and 30s, they were always writing in their alumni pages all their successes. I've done this and I've done that, and he said it's amazing how much those things have changed in the 60s. People don't really care about that stuff anymore. They're talking about their families. They're talking about connections they make. They're talking about their philanthropic work. Their service to the causes that matter to them. Suddenly, their attention about where to put their attention on things that really matter, and just the awards and the successes, not that they're bad, but they're not necessarily fulfilling. And that's what the guy from Google was saying, that all these people you're talking about, it wasn't their success that fulfilled them. It was seeing their own capabilities, their own creativity, their own ability to create something and bring it to fruition. That was the part that was fulfilling. So what in your life matters to you to create, to work hard at? What is it that you want to give to yourself and to others? I think I saw this in a commercial, and maybe some of you have seen this commercial, but I loved it, so I'm going to use it. The woman was saying, we all have a seed that's going to grow, but you don't have to do anything to the seed. The seed's going to grow. Our job is the environment, making sure the dirt is whatever the dirt needs. Some need a lot of watering, some need a little watering. The sunlight, the rain. You give each plant, you pay attention, right? When we care about something, we pay attention. We create an environment so it can thrive. We don't actually make the plant grow up. We don't pull it. In fact, if you dig it up, it's probably going to die. You have to let it be. Trust that the inherent divine nature in you is always there. It's always generating energy. It's not static. It's powerful. It's moving. And so our job is to catch that energetic energy that's coming through us and work with it. What's the environment that I can work? That's the co-creation part. We are not creating our work of art. We are co-creating our path, because as we heard at the beginning with the song, we've already been given our gifts, our talents, why we are here, the sole purpose. We are to feel it, to feel the energy of it, the power of it, and to move with it, to dance with it, to create the environment of it, the people that will support us in that, the people that need to hear the word. Who are the people we are here to serve? Who are the people to support us? What's the things that I need? Do I need to go back to school? Do I need to learn this or that skill? Do I need to learn how to start my own business? Whatever that is, what do I need so I can continue to grow and to flourish When you're raising children, or raising anything, a pet, plants, the thing that we know is it will die if we don't pay attention. One of the things I hear all the time on spiritual journey is, I hate that word discipline. I don't feel like meditating, or I don't feel like, it's hard. And I was thinking about that. Often you can say it's prayer work. That's a funny word, prayer work. And I remember a teacher, I don't know if I got it or something, it's been a long time. But the idea of work is when you're in the middle of something, you're in the middle of your own habit pattern, right? You're thinking, and we all have our habit patterns of thought. What happens when we pray is we have to stop our habit pattern of thought, which is natural. We're so used to it, sometimes we don't even know what we're doing. We have to stop it. That takes work. Stop. I don't want to stop. I just want to keep going, because that actually takes the least amount of effort just to keep going. Blah, 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 blah. Stop. 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 Let's just stop and remember that there's a divine presence here that knows, and you move into prayer. That stopping and moving your attention into prayer, that takes work. Work is anything that requires effort. Spirit does not require effort. Spirit's already doing it. The work as human beings that we have to do, and we're all human beings, the last I checked, is we have to consciously, daily, hour by hour, take our attention from our habit patterns to the divine nature and say, what is mine to do right now? How can I move along with the energy that is in me now, that is pouring through me? Or in this situation, it's always us and a situation. We're not islands. So it's moving through me, through this community, through this group that I'm in, through my work life at work. How can I do this? Not on my own, not as an island, but through this infinite oceanic energy that is already giving of itself, but we have to acknowledge it. And in order to acknowledge it, we have to stop. The work, meditation, it takes work. Who's ever had a regular meditation practice? The discipline, when people are saying, I don't like to discipline, what they mean is, I don't want to have to work. I don't want to have to put effort into stopping my day because I'm getting a lot done today and I'm getting my checklist done. I do not want to have to stop that and turn within to the divine presence. But the more we turn into the divine presence, we're going to find that everything else flows in ease and grace. The more we are on our own, the harder it is, because it's like we're doing it on our own. When you're working, when you're going through your day, are you going through by yourself? Are you going through with the infinite oceanic power of pure spirit pouring through you as you move through your day and all your tasks and your relationships and the things your colleagues and your parenting and your parenting your parents and everything that is required of you every single day? Are you doing it by yourself? Or are you doing it in alignment or as a vehicle of this powerful force that has loved you so deeply from before you were born and is loving you now? And it is the other thing I've been reading so much, it's so funny when I read the same thing over and over from different sources, is how happy this divine presence is when we acknowledge it. It's like, yay, I'm doing all this work and you're not paying attention and it's exhausting for you. Just stop, pay attention, meditate, pray, journal with your pen, or we did in one of our covenant groups, we did it audio, and it was awesome. You could just like talk to yourself, and then you play it back. It's really cool. There's so many things you can do just to read, spiritual reading. Even exercise, if your exercise is as a way to connect with your spiritual self. It's always there, but it takes us to do the work to pay attention. So often when we say do our work, or we say like create a life that works for us, we immediately get into the out there part. And what I'm saying is you already matter, God already loves you, which means that your path already has this incredible loving energy pouring through you. So your first work is to pay attention to that. Every day, not just when it feels good, not just when you have time. That was another one. I don't have time. Even when you don't have time. I am telling you, I'm saying this by experience, in my busiest of times where I am just going, but I absolutely insist on doing my spiritual practices. It's amazing. It's like the Red Sea's parting. Suddenly, time is made. Time and space is relative. And when we put our foot down and say, this is more important than everything else that's coming at me, this what do you call it? The big waves? Tidal wave coming at me, the tsunami that's of stuff that's coming at me, I'm putting my foot down anyways, and I'm going to do my spiritual practices, because no matter what we have to do, the divine is bigger and more powerful. So as you're creating your life, you're actually co-creating your life. And I should have shifted the title for that. Actually, I should have shifted the whole title. Co-creating a work, from a life that matters, co-creating your work of art, your divine work of art. And you're co-creating with the divine, your work of art. So this week, I'm inviting you to really listen, to work hard at stopping. That's the only part, that's the part that's work. It's already happening. You just have to work to stop what you're already doing and do it regularly and consistently. It's actually not that hard to do it once in a while. You can do it, like if I said this next week, do it 2 days a week, 3 days a week, I bet most of you could do it. The work is to do it every day, because you already know, I know you all know, you'll do it 1 day or 2 days, but immediately you do it a couple times and then your mind goes, nope, don't have time today. I did it yesterday, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll get back on track tomorrow, but I got to get this done today. So we work, we stop, we pay attention, and what we're going to find is that in fact this thing that we keep being told, that we are the center of the universe, is really true. When we stop, we allow Spirit to pour its love through us, and amazing things happen. New insights. We're guided in ways we would never know. I had this thing, like many of you know, I was like, I'm going to become a professor. And I just thought it was the best idea. And it made sense to me, and it was rational, and I could explain it to anybody. And so I started on the journey, but I always know if it's a no, I'll hear it. And so I started on the journey, and lo and behold, it was like one no after another. And I was like, okay, guess I'm not doing that. I could have tortured myself and really forced myself and made it work. I'm creating a life. It makes total sense why I would be a professor. I've laid out all the great reasons why I would be a great professor. This is going to be a great way of, I like it. And it wasn't instead of being a minister, sort of both. But it was like, no. You might teach once in a while in a college, but it's not going to, you're not going to be doing this minister-professor thing. I just saved myself so much time and money by listening. So we say that it always says yes. Well, we can force it to be a yes, but why do we want to do that? This presence is greater than anything else in the universe. It loves you. It loves you. You are the center of its universe. You are this. You know what it's like to have something that's the center of your universe, right? You know how much you think about them and how much you care about them and how much you want everything, and everything you do is for your child or your pet's greatest good. You're just, everything is geared towards that. You create an environment. That's what Spirit's doing for you. That's what Spirit's like, I love you so much, and I'm thinking about you all the time, and how can I serve you, and how can I make you see and flourish the beauty and the magnificence of your life every day? That's what is happening. And work then just becomes an out-picturing of this love story. So work is a love story, ultimately. And I want to end with one last point. It might be a little long, though. No, I'll try to make it short. Well, so Reverend David Bruner is a CSL minister in San Jose, and he asked a question in the middle of the week, and he said, if you were never born, how would the world be different? So if you never existed, I thought that was a great question for today. And so I was reading through the comments, and there were a lot of people who were saying, we're talking about, oh, I've helped this person, or I've helped that person, and they recognized that they had been a benefit to other people. But there were some other people saying, well, in 2 or 3 generations, no one's going to remember me. It probably don't make that big a difference when you think of the entire evolutionary force of the planet. I'm not really impacting it on a huge way. I mean, think of your great-great-grandparents. How much do you think of them, and how much are they impacting the huge? What you're learning and growing in this modern life has far more impact than your great-great-ancestors. And so he said, but I'm okay with that. But I have a little different take, and this is part of knowing God. I'm really, really getting clear on the power of the invisible. So much of our culture and our life is about what's visible. So we looked at the CEOs because we all know them. We know the people who, if you were here last week, I was talking about masculine energy comes in through the front door. It announces itself. It says, this is who I am. Feminine energy comes in through the back door, and it fills up the whole house, and you don't even know it's there. But it's powerful. When I say it fills up the whole house, it's not like it's, but people don't know that, and it hasn't come in through the front door, so they can't fight it. There are people, all the invisible people in the world, and I would say it's all the people that you don't talk about in history books. I mean, this world has been inhabited by millions of people. We don't talk about all of them. We talk about a few. But every one of them have mattered and have impacted the energy of this universe of which we are now inhabiting. Just as we are creating an energy collectively, and every individual voice is part of that, and we are choosing to raise that energy. Every one of you are on the spiritual path, and you're raising the energy. That all matters. People can't see it, but it's impacting us. I was named after my grandmother, Harriet, who was... died when my dad was 7, and he was the oldest of 4 boys, never talked about her. So my mom said I could be named after her as long as I was never compared to her, which was great, because I don't even come close. She was an amazing woman, valedictorian of her class, graduated from college in the 1920s. But I never heard about it. I mean, I heard he didn't talk about her, because he couldn't. Repression. So I didn't feel anything around her, negative or positive, neutral. I was guest speaking at a church. That's when I first became a minister in Virginia. My dad and his wife lived in Virginia. I was staying in their guest bedroom, and the same picture of Harriet was in their guest bedroom that had been in my room growing up, never felt anything. And I was sitting there, this is March, and I was sitting there on the bed, and I looked at the picture, and suddenly she was there. Not visibly, I can't tell you why I knew she was there, but she was there, and I just felt her blessing with this new church that I was going to be speaking at, I was touched. Fast forward to August, I did candidate for the church. The board president called me in August and offered me the position, and it was on my grandmother's birthday. She had been invisible to me all those years, but there she was. When we say someone's invisible, it's because we're only seeing with the physical eyes. We're talking about life as if it's only what you can see. Spirit, this spirit that loves you right now, that you're the center of its universe, you are never invisible to that presence. No matter what you do, it's not whether the whole world sees it or not. You know. I heard a gentleman with whom I went to high school with. He just put on Facebook that he's had cancer. He's had stage 4 cancer for the last 11 years. He's lived with it, and he now has an inoperable tumor, and he's choosing for this last month, to not be on chemo or on drugs, and to be at home with his family. And what amazed me was how much I reacted to it. This is a person I went to high school with, but I had no contact with him. I had moved away, and so I came back, so there's a lot of people I didn't have actual conversation with. I knew of him, so I didn't know anything about his life, knew nothing about him. But at one point on Facebook over the last 10 years, I don't even remember what it was. We had this one little connection, and all I remember from that one little connection was, oh my gosh, he is the most loving person. My heart wide open. And I don't even know what he said, but it was just so beautiful. So when this story comes out, and we're all blessing him and sending prayers, our Lighthouse prayer team is praying for him and his family, I'm amazed how moved I am, how emotional I am for someone I've never really known. And people are writing, so I'm learning about him. I'm learning about his time with cancer. I'm learning about before, and I didn't know anything about him. But I realized not a single thing that I've read has even come close to impacting me the way that moment of pure love did. When we are here being the vehicle of God, more than anything else, no matter what our job is, no matter what our tasks are, no matter what our successes are, That's not what's real. What's real is this divine seed that we are growing and evolving and expressing into the world. When I say expressing God's light into the world, we're expressing the eternal, that eternal love. And so just a moment with somebody that you have, when Reverend Dade asked, what would life be like if you didn't live? It's not about what you did for someone. You were a vehicle of the divine, of something eternal. That sharing of love for that moment is forever. I have moved so much in my life. I've been in so many different New Thought communities. I'm amazed. Every person that I see, I'm so happy to see, because we've touched on the eternal. No matter what's happening in the human world, once you've touched on the eternal with anybody in your work life, in the every mundane, whether it's Starbucks, the grocery store, in your spiritual community, in your home, with your plants, with your animals, when you have that moment of eternal connection, that's your greatest work of art that you're offering the planet. So the message we want to end with, we began with, we are born, we have the seed, we already matter. And the message that I love to end with is Julian of Norwich's message, is that all is well. When I say it's her message, it was the message that Jesus had given her. And he kept saying to her, and then I was just reading in Yogananda, it's all going to be fine. Like, stop worrying. It's going to be fine. You're fine. You are the life of God. You have always mattered. You will never stop mattering. There's nothing that you could ever do, say, or think that will ever make you stop mattering. Yogananda, the thing that I was reading, he was writing in 1940 during World War II, and it's like, stop worrying. This planet, this thing that is created here is never going to stop. You can't destroy it. Even if it's destroyed, it will happen again, because there's the divine idea for every being on this planet is to come home to the divine. Not some people. Everybody is going to return to the divine, and until that happens, this place is going to exist in some form or another. So you're never going to lose it. Don't worry about it. You are being carried home to the divine. Every one of you, every one of us is being carried home to the divine. Listen to the divine presence within you. Stop. Do the work to listen and let the divine work for you, because everything in the end is going to be fine. Ultimately, it's impossible to fail, because we're already there. Let's pray. We're already here. When we open our heart and our body and our mind, our soul in prayer, it's not to get anywhere that already doesn't exist. We're just here to remind ourselves at the very center of our being, that which already exists. So I want you to once again feel within your own heart as if you're the only one on this planet, just for a moment. You can come back to everybody else in a minute, but just for this moment, let everybody else go and let yourself be the center of the universe. Let your life story be the center of divine love. And I want you just to notice, is there any part of you that is unwilling to be the center of divine love? Is it too much? Do you feel like it's too much? And you know what? Divine love says, I'm here forever, for all eternity. And when you're ready, I'm here. I will always be here with the infinite oceanic love pouring through your heart. And you can accept for however much you need to accept right now, and that's fine. Because I'm also infinitely patient. Because I love you. Because I love you more than life itself. I love you. I love you more than all form and all creation, of all human success, failure, all those words of contrast, of opposition. I am free of all of that. I love you. I love you without end. I love you for all eternity. I love you. I love you no matter what your limitations are. I celebrate your limitations because they're a beautiful way that you're discovering even more of who you are. I love you. I love you in all the ways you show up in relationships, the ways that you are awesome and amazing in relationships, the generosity that pours through you. I love you. You care so deeply about yourself and others, about your own healing and other people's healing. You care about what you're creating. I love you so much. You are a magnificent being of light. I love you. I love you. I love your passion for creating beauty, for your wisdom, for your joy, for your playfulness, for your abundance, for the greatness that you are on this beautiful, radiant planet. I love you. And for all those places where you feel hurt and lack and limitation, I love you. You are never made less by any of that. It's those places of tenderness, of softness, of gentleness. Oh, I love your tender heart. I love the part of you that feels soft and sometimes afraid and that you're not strong enough. I love that part of you. I love your gentleness, your softness, your sometimes withdrawing into yourself because you are afraid. I love you. There is nothing you can ever do or say, I love you. I know when you are angry, it's this passion to be heard. Behind that anger, I love you. There's something beautiful that's wanting to be seen and come through. I love you. There is nothing that I will, or no thing, or no condition that will ever stop me from loving you. There is nothing that you do that is too great, too magnificent. You are always loved. You are not arrogant. You are not full of yourself. You are an amazing being of light. I love you. For all that you are, for all that you are, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I love you. And so it is. Amen.
I walk in God in all I do. I walk in God in all that I say.